Now with the frontal lobe, there are three things we're mainly going to be concerned with. Now, just in front or anterior to the central sulcus is something called the precentral gyrus. Now, if you'll recall, the central sulcus was one of the sulci or the grooves that ran a long distance, but just in front of it, if you take a look, the gyrus or the top of the fold also doesn't stop anywhere either. It continues all the way down with that central sulcus. And this specific gyrus is called the precentral gyrus, or you may see it also called the primary somatic motor gyrus. Now, what this is involved with is voluntary conscious movement. So if you think about moving your arm, straightening your arm, that initial thought process is starting on this gyrus and then being carried out throughout the rest of the brain. Just in front of that, there are quite a few gyri involved in this area, but it's called the premotor area. And basically what this is doing is just helping out and associating movements that have been done before and helping out that primary gyrus. Even more anterior to that is a large area called the prefrontal cortex. Now, what the prefrontal cortex is doing is it actually has parts of your personality. It's your creative thoughts, your conscious thoughts, and your learning. And there's just a whole lot of functions that this area is doing. Now, you may have actually heard beforehand of a pretty barbaric operation they used to do called a frontal lobotomy, and they would actually stick a metal rod in through the eye orbit and kind of poke around this cortex, and they were actually damaging the prefrontal cortex of the person, and it would kind of make them not really functional. Now, as we take a look here is that central sulcus. We can see it going all the way down. But if you notice highlighted in red here, this specific gyrus also goes all the way down here. It doesn't stop. So that is the primary motor cortex, or the precentral gyrus. Now, colored in pink in front of it, a little bit darker pink at least, this area right here is the premotor cortex, or that somatic motor association. So it's associating motor pathways. And then even in front of that, this is all the prefrontal cortex that has so many different functions here. Now, a part of the parietal lobe, because remember, central sulcus is going to be dividing the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe. Just behind it is another gyrus that follows the entire length called the postcentral gyrus, which is also the primary sensory area of the parietal lobe. And what this is involved with is actually interpreting skin sensation. So if you feel a cold surface like a table, understanding what you're touching is going to this specific part of your brain, and it's interpreting that. Now, just posterior to that is another area called the somatic sensory association area. And again, it's just using past experiences to try to help figure out what you're sensing. There's also something called the parieto-occipital sulcus. So this is another sulcus that's going to be dividing the parietal lobe from the occipital lobe. And this is actually found on the inside, or the medial aspect of the cerebral hemisphere. So as we take a look again, there's that central sulcus. Just immediately posterior to that is the postcentral gyrus, or also the primary sensory. Here is the sensory association area, just posterior to that. For the occipital lobe, what it's doing is it's actually involved with interpreting sight, so visual sensory information. The primary visual cortex is actually interpreting what you're looking at, is at the very back, and then the visual association surrounds it and just uses past experiences to help you figure out what you're looking at. So here's our occipital lobe. The very back right here is the primary visual cortex, and then the visual association area just surrounds it. Starting on the cerebellum, recall this is a smaller part of the brain that is posterior and inferior to the cerebrum. The cerebellum is also going to have two hemispheres, so it will have a left and a right cerebellar hemisphere.